Welcome back. Mean and median tell you about the center of the data. But the center alone is not enough. You also need to know what is the most common situation and how spread out are the values. That is what mode and range give you. Let's begin with mode, which is the most frequently occurring value. For continuous numeric data like risk cap, mode is rarely useful because most values appear exactly once. All 11 risk cap values are different. There is no mode. But for categorical data, the mode is very informative. Look at the income group column. Lower middle income appears 8 times out of 15 countries. Upper middle income and low income appears 3 times. The mode is lower middle income. What does this tell the journalist? Most of the countries she is writing about share a similar economic context. Lower middle income countries have limited fiscal space for disaster preparedness investment. That context shapes the story. In Excel, for categorical columns like income group, use equal to COUNTIF to find most common category. For numeric data, equal to mode will return an error if no value repeats, which is your signal that mode is not the right statistics here. Here is a practice task for you. Find columns on which you can use equal to COUNTIF for finding the mode. Talking about range, the distance between the highest and lowest values. For the risk gap column, the highest value is Papua New Guinea at 6.4. The lowest value is Mongolia at minus 2.8. Range equals to 6.4 minus negative 2.8 equal to 9.2. 9.2 on a 0 to 10 scale. That is an enormous spread. It tells the journalist that Asia-Pacific countries are not facing a similar level of risk capacity mismatch. They are facing wildly different situations. A story that treats all 15 countries as roughly equivalent would be misleading. Now, compare with the HA_score range. Highest Philippines at 8.8, lowest Mongolia at 2.2, range equal to 6.6. The hazard range is also large, but smaller than the risk cap range. Range gives you the outer boundaries, but it is dominated by the two most extreme values. Remove Papua New Guinea and Mongolia, and the risk gap range drops. One outlier at each end is doing most of the work. Before we close, a question for you. Journalists now have 3 major statistics for risk gap. Mean 1.2, median 0.9, range 9.15. The mean and median are relatively close, but the range is 9.15. An enormous difference. How can the center values be reasonable if the spread is so wide? Simple answer. Most countries are clustered near the center, but 2 extreme cases stretch the range to its limits. The mean and median are close because the middle of the distribution is reasonably compact, but Mongolia on the low end and Papua New Guinea and Myanmar on the high end extend far from the center. This is exactly why we need one more statistic, standard deviation, not to replace range, but to describe how far a typical value sits from the mean, rather than just how far the most extreme values sit. That is the next video. See you there.